Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I would like to begin by greeting you all with the universal greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
My name is Nadia Hassan, and it is my distinct honor to welcome you to this historic gathering, the Wise Up Summit, Knowledge Ends Extremism. Today, we are celebrating the launch of a new book called The Wise Up Report, which is a 400-page research, evidence-based toolkit that debunks Islamic extremism. For the first time ever, Muslims are coming together collectively to offer a solution to end extremism in all of its forms. And I would like to begin the press conference by inviting Sheikha Maryam to begin with an opening invocation.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitan nirajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Nir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace and blessings be upon everyone. Inshallah, alhamdulillah. Beloved brothers and sisters, companions on the sacred journey, we have all been called from far corners of the earth, having a vast variety of life experiences and perspectives, to join together and unite in the light. At this unique historic assembly, in the midst of a world shaken by conflict, stress, and distress, may we here be present in the divine presence that is the source of our individual and collective healing and peace. Divine guidance manifested through wisdom, mercy, and grace is the cure of all ailments, and that is a cure, or shifa, that we all have access to through divine grace as we hold our hands and our hearts up in supplication, and the blessings descend upon all of us, that we may then share with many of our fellow beings in all the worlds who are awaiting the mercy being sent to them by the Creator, most merciful, most compassionate. The wise women and men who have so deeply and diligently organized to manifest this assembly and forum of grace, to dispel with light the dark, diabolic distortions of extremism and terrorism through divinely illuminated knowledge and wisdom, are today initiating the powerful plan to open the doors and windows of grace, welcoming all our brothers and sisters in the family of mankind into the realms of transformation and peace. This is just the beginning. And from here, the coalition and caravan of wisdom-inspired peacemaking will continue to move from city to city, home to home, and heart to heart. In deep appreciation for all the efforts made to manifest this wisdom-inspired summit, may we realize that we have all been called to join into this celebration of praise and invocation of divine guidance, manifesting in service, inshallah. May each one of us place on the outspread table the gifts that we bring to this assembly and take from the table the wisdom and inspiration that we receive, nourishment that we and others need, the nourishment of the wealth of divine grace. Inshallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
I'm going to ask the audience to hold their applause until after the press conference is over. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheikha Maryam, for this beautiful invocation. I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of WISE to thank the many contributors, the scholars, the academics, the volunteers, the supporters, the staff for this amazing contribution to our society. There are so many people that we have to thank, and we don't have enough time to thank them during the press conference, and we will have time for that later. But first, we want to thank God and to thank all of you for being here and for supporting us through this journey. None of us would be here today if it wasn't for the insight, the foresight, and the wisdom of an illustrious woman who worked tirelessly to see this project all the way through. Since 9/11, she's been around the world speaking out and speaking up against violent extremism and extremist ideologies. For years, she has assured the press, and everyone else for that matter, that Muslims really are speaking out against violent extremism. And today, she is here to say, I told you so. Just kidding. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the executive director and founder of WISE and the visionary and the architect behind the Wise Up report. Please welcome in our hearts, with no applause, Daisy Khan.
Thank you very much, Nadia. I'm humbled by this great introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, as Nadia said, that we have been speaking out, and today I'm not the only one speaking out. There's a whole bunch of friends that have come in support of us to do just that. But I stand before you as an American Muslim, as a woman, as an immigrant, as a person who came to the new world, America, and where I discovered the value of my religion. I was born in a Muslim family in Kashmir, India. It's also called the paradise on earth. I was sent to Christian missionary school for 11 years. According to my calculations, I've done the Lord's Prayer about 3,000 times, more than many Christians, I might say. I had Hindu teachers. I climbed trees with Sikh girls, bought freshwater pearls from Buddhists. We were always told that we were from the lost 10th tribe of Israel. And at the age of 15, I landed in Jericho, Long Island, a 99% Jewish neighborhood. I received my religious education there. And then I pursued a 25-year career in architectural design, and then, as Lord would have it, divine intervention happened and 9/11 happened. And I began to do bridge building with my husband, made alliances, developed programs, and we thought we had made great strides for the last 15 years, right? But this worldview that shapes my life, this cultural coexistence and religious coexistence, is now severely under threat all over again. The voices of extremists and Islamophobes have clogged the public airwaves and seem to define the agenda for the rest of us who are in this room. The world is torn apart by extremism and divided by Islamophobes. And there is an essential misunderstanding of where the middle stands. And the middle is right here today in support of the voices of reason. This does not have to be this way, ladies and gentlemen. Extremists don't have to win. And there does not have to be an extreme reaction to the extremists, like Islamophobia. We must start by not conflating Islam with terrorism. It is of great disservice to a global world religion, and it is also dangerous. For instance, it makes it really hard for a Muslim like myself to speak up for what we know to be the truth about our religion and about our identity. And two, it plays right into the hands of the extremist recruiters. I'm often asked repeatedly over and over again, what are you doing about women in Afghanistan? What are you doing about girls who are enslaved by Boko Haram? This is how we're often treated in the media. A heinous act is committed by a terrorist somewhere in Raqqa or somewhere else, and it reflects poorly on my person in New York City, simply by the virtue of the fact that we all call ourselves Muslim. But there is a vacuum in leadership on this issue. There is a gap on this issue. It is because everyone seems to be analyzing Muslims and talking about the problems of terrorism, but there are very few people willing to do something about it. And I've come to the sobering realization that if we do nothing about it, then our next generation is going to get impacted by it. The stakes are way too high, and if forward-thinking, peace-loving individuals who are in this room today do not step into the arena to stop the extremists and the Islamophobes from spreading their influence, then who will? I know for decades we have tried bombs and they have not worked. How many years have we been at war? We have tried drones and they've not succeeded. And we've tried even sanctions and all they've done is hurt innocent people. I think the time is ripe for a fresh, new approach. This will require all faiths and none to work together, in good faith, pooling our insights, experiences, and know-how to solve the issue. And you'll hear a lot about that today, how different people are doing this work. It is crucial and it must be done by peaceful means. For peace is the underlying and unifying spirit of all our traditions and of humanity. At WISE, we believe that a problem cannot be solved at the level of a problem, that only through educational awareness can we create long-lasting social change. My hope is that as a Muslim woman, by using a different kind of force, the force of knowledge, to clear misunderstanding and to open hearts and minds. Why knowledge, ladies and gentlemen? Knowledge can help us understand and deal with the roots of extremism, especially that which lead to violence. Correct knowledge of Islam will diminish injustice and discrimination against Muslims here in the United States. It will empower people to overcome their conditioned biases, prejudices, and stereotypes of the other. So how did we do this? As Nadia mentioned, we brought together 72 Muslim voices. Unfortunately, the only time you hear the word 72 is when it's conflated with 72 virgins. But I would say we brought together 72 voices. That's even better. Scholars, academics, specialists. And we created a solution to change the mindset of people. It took us 20,000 hours and 2 staff, if you can believe that. Really, 2 staff. 10 to 20 interns, numerous volunteers to assemble a state-of-the-art document. And the result is WISE Up, authentic, research-based, evidence-based report. It is my way of voting for peace. It is my contribution to peace. You will be hearing about throughout the day. I will not tell you everything that's in this report, but it will give voice to American Muslims so they can tell their own story, their challenges, their aspirations. It'll provide the reader with clear distinction between Islamic theology that we Muslims practice and the extremist ideology. And it'll help families prevent extremist recruitment by building resiliency in their own communities. WISE Up is both a slogan for a wise, forward-looking campaign to spread authoritative yet easily accessible knowledge about Islam, and it'll also act as a blueprint for positive change, especially in vulnerable communities. And it'll empower individuals and groups who are struggling to do interfaith dialogue and who are passionate about building bridges against hatred and violence. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, 4 weeks ago, I would not have imagined that Wise Up Summit would be completely sold out. I know the room is not full, but we have people coming in and out. Your presence is a testament of the times we live in. I'm honored that you've joined us. We're looking forward for people to help us change the world. We may not always be on the same page or the same wavelength, but there is nothing preventing us from getting on together on this road. And we must never despair, for this moment too shall pass. It is my hope that when we look back at this bleak moment in history, we can say to ourselves, thank God I was part of this. I thank you very much, and I look for your cooperation.
We can do the millennial version. Okay, you can clap. Go ahead, because Daisy really deserves it. Yeah. Daisy, on behalf of everyone that is here and people who are not here, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you very much for spearheading this amazing initiative. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to invite Saeed Khan and Arsalan Suleman to speak about the policy papers around the Wise Up report.
Thank you, Nadia. Good morning, everyone. I used to serve in government for about 6.5 years. I was working at the State Department, and it's a real pleasure to see so many former colleagues who are still in government in various departments, the State Department, the Justice Department, DHS. Thank you all for being here. One of the purposes of this report, one of the audiences that it's being written for, is for policymakers. We're not going to be dropping a 350-page book on their doorstep and expect them to read it all, but we have a 3-page policy brief that is meant to distill some of the key points out of that larger study and make it digestible for the policymakers. Because one of the things that this report is meant to do, as Daisy was mentioning in her opening remarks, is to clarify and demystify a lot of the misperceptions and misinformation that's out there about Muslims and Muslim Americans in particular. And that's what this report does. And that's why it's a really important resource for policymakers to be able to look at this report and understand that, okay, there is deep diversity in the American Muslim community. Muslim Americans have been in this country since before its founding. There are Muslims who serve in all elements of American society: government, private sector, public sector, volunteer work, etc. There are American Muslims who are doing amazing work, and government and policymakers should be speaking with them and with the American Muslim community so that they are hearing directly from the community about issues that relate to them. And that's the whole purpose of the report, is to ensure that policymakers are getting that message, that the American Muslim community is here to engage with you, the policymakers. We are here to talk about the issues. We understand that extremism is an issue, and we are working to combat it. If you want to ask where the Muslims are who are condemning terrorism and extremism, they've been around here forever, but at least you have this book now with 70+ people who are doing it in written form. And this, by the way, is a list of people that you can always call directly and get in contact with if you want to talk about the issues. So that's in brief with the purpose of the policy aspect of it, and I'll turn it over to Saeed to add a little bit more.
Thank you, Arsalan, and good morning, everybody. As somebody who lives outside the purview of the policy world directly, in the hinterland of the Midwest, and as an academic, we are constantly having to assess what is within the public bloodstream and what is in the public discourse. And we find that some of the challenges facing particularly the Muslim American community today is the problematization of the Muslim American community reduced to simply being a security issue. One of the privileges of working on the Wise Up project was the opportunity to then correct and clarify the narrative regarding this global phenomenon known as Islam and 1.7 billion Muslims globally, as well as somewhere between 3 to 8 million, depending on the researcher, in the United States. And the policy paper that Arsalan has mentioned is intended to go ahead then and distill some of the main points regarding both the misperceptions about Muslim Americans and Muslims further afield, as well as to provide some insight into where the focus should be. Now, terminology, cultural literacy are two of the hallmark features of where the debates are being won and lost regarding Muslim Americans and others. And I would submit to you that were there no Muslim Americans as we approach the Christmas season and the movie It's a Wonderful Life, making that imagination or that inferential leap, I would assure you that some of the same anxieties, some of the same concerns, and some of the same challenges facing us as Americans would still be there. But Muslims are around, and for the meantime, Muslims are being problematized as being perhaps the cause of many of these ills and many of these anxieties. Fortunately, a book like the Wise Up Project is meant to go ahead and not only clarify that narrative, but also give recommendations. And the only way forward as a people and as a country is to engage in dialogue, and to collaborate. Although those seem as very simple asks, they are, in many cases, very elusive. Hopefully, with the dissemination of this book, they no longer will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saeed and Arsalan. I'd like to next invite our interfaith leaders to come up. Sister Simone Campbell, Rabbi Gerry Serotta, Imam Talib Shareef, and Dr. Robin Wilson Black.
Thank you so much. As a young child growing up in California, my father recounted being a child in Denver, Colorado, and having stones thrown at him because he was Catholic. He said that should never happen in our nation, and it won't. He was very determined that it never happened. I am so grateful for this book that lifts up the fact that this should not happen in our nation. He said that the answer to this sort of violence and prejudice was knowledge and was conversation. Thank you for the conversation starter that makes our nation better, makes our people better, and makes us all safer. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm here just to give a blessing as well as a greeting to a dear sister, Sheikha Daisy. I call her Sheikha. I don't know if she has that official title, but she's been involved as she underestimated what she's done and her family's done over the many years. I think there are three reasons why this wonderful publication and the summary, Wise Up, is important and is a blessing and is a healing in our society and for our community. First, for the interfaith community, it's really important that every interfaith council throughout the United States welcomes and includes the Muslim community because of what the Muslim community and the Quran itself say about pluralism. Of all of our traditions, the Muslim tradition is the clearest to advocate for there being different religions so that we can learn from each other. So the kinds of interpretations and values that are part of the Quran will now be much more clear to the interfaith community if it hasn't been clear already. And it's very clear in this community. I represent the Interfaith Conference of Metropolitan Washington, which has 11 historic faiths, ranging from those that are called Abrahamic, but I say descend from Hajar and Sarah. And without Hajar and Sarah, there wouldn't be much left after Ibrahim. But those communities and the Eastern beautiful traditions, Buddhist, Hindu, Jain, Sikh, other communities are all part of the Interfaith Conference of Metropolitan Washington. We have a strong Muslim brotherhood and sisterhood that joins with us. In fact, our president of the Interfaith Conference, Imam Talib, will speak right after me. So first, it's important and a blessing to the interfaith community. Second, and this may be immodest or inappropriate for me to say as a non-Muslim, but I think it's a blessing and a healing to the Muslim community as well. None of our communities is as well educated as we would like, those of us who are rabbis or imams or priests or ministers. And this is an opportunity to deepen the understanding of American Muslims or English-speaking Muslims of the beautiful traditions of Islam. So it's a healing and a blessing to those as well. But most important, as you've heard in other ways from speakers, it's a blessing for this country. This country beautifully founded on ideals that are very much vulnerable today and very much in some ways, I would say in retreat, but people are trying to force us apart. And this book is going to help in the healing process that this society desperately needs. And we, in the Interfaith Conference, and I think in the Washington area and in our country, are deeply in debt to Daisy Khan and all the wonderful scholars that have produced this very important product. Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to you all, and welcome. We should really be excited about what's happening here. And we certainly want to thank our sister Daisy. Not only is this a very comprehensive product, it's one of the most diverse collection of Muslim voices that we've seen on the subject together in one setting. So we want to thank Sister Daisy for that 72. And it's very diverse. And again, I'm here, again, Imam Shareef, President and Imam of the Nations Mosque. It's called the Nations Mosque here in the capital. It's an 80-year community. And it is the first one built in America from the ground up by descendants of enslaved Africans. And so you have that voice representing those who, again, part of my contribution to the project was the America's foundational values. And we know when we begin to look at the history, we find that Muslims were here before America was even established. And in its establishment, we find Muslims among the slaves, and then it continues to grow. But one of the things that Prophet Muhammad said, he said, knowledge is my weapon. He said, the ink of the scholar is more precious than the blood of the martyr. He said, one educated Muslim is harder on evil, harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant. So this knowledge piece that we have, this comprehensive piece, that again, the most comprehensive we've seen on the subject, we're very grateful for, again, our sister Daisy. This is a good reflection of who we are. And I'm not saying who we are as Muslims, because Muslims are very diverse, but who we are as Americans. This is our picture, because this has always been a part of America's fabric, and we bring a lot of that out in this particular product that we have. Now, we represent also, behind me is the American flag. I also stand representing the community that physically was the first one to pick the flag up like this on a stick and said for us to claim our identity as American and Muslim. And it was Imam Mohamed. There's a chapter in the book on him in terms of his great contribution. And he picked the flag up. He's the first one in America's history in terms of a Muslim to pick it up. In fact, I served in the military for 30 years. And it was after that happened and what he said about what we should be doing. If we say we're citizens, we have an obligation to a society that we claim citizenship in. And we've come to find out that that's exactly what Muhammad the Prophet, the prayers and the peace upon him, that's exactly what he said. That's exactly the guidance that he gave. Regardless if you're the majority or minority, you have an obligation to support that society. So this book is a great reflection and gives us information of what we don't know so we can be those who do know. Thank you.
I'm Rob Wilson Black. I bring you greetings from the Sojourners community, where we articulate the biblical call to social justice at sojo.net. One of the things we've been convicted in reading the Christian scriptures as followers of Jesus, we're calling on folks to reread Matthew 25. And Matthew25pledge.com is where we've called people to reread Matthew 25 and look to what Jesus says about the most vulnerable in society, or I would say those who are being made to feel vulnerable. And Matthew25pledge.com is where we give toolkit resources on how to protect and support and encourage your Muslim neighbor. And so we're grateful for that, and I want to thank Daisy for all the work she's done and grateful to join you. So we're calling on Christians to act like Christians and to follow Jesus' words and to care for their neighbor.
Thank you to our interfaith leaders. I would now like to invite our veterans up, Scott Cooper and Ibrahim Hashi, to say a few words.
Well, good morning. My name is Scott Cooper. I work at Human Rights First and lead our initiative, Veterans for American Ideals, which is a movement of veterans that are trying to lift our voices up to counter bigotry in our country. And so I was heartened several months ago when I was introduced to Daisy, and she asked if we might contribute to this. Certainly, we're at a moment where veterans are kind of in the news, and I bring Ibrahim Hashi here with me because certainly in the Marine Corps that I served in, it didn't matter what faith you were. It just so happened that Ibrahim was Muslim. It just so happened that I was a Protestant from Wyoming. And so this has been a tremendous partnership. I applaud Daisy for what she's doing, and I get to serve on a panel this afternoon, so you'll get to hear more from me about how you can use your voice to diffuse hate speech. Ibrahim?
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ibrahim. I was in the Marine Corps. I served for 5 years as an Arabic translator and infantryman. I went to Iraq twice, Afghanistan once. And I share that story or my background with you guys because I'm not alone. There are countless Muslims in the military currently today who also serve our country. And I want to dispel this notion once and for all that Muslim Americans are less patriotic than or do not care about this country as much as other Americans do. I'm here as proof, as living proof, that Muslim Americans do care about this country and that we do serve in an equal capacity as anyone else. And I just wanted to impart that message with you guys. Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you to our Marines. Next, I would like to invite Sammy Rangel from the Council to Far-Right Extremists to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I thank Wise Up and Daisy for having our organization here. I'm the executive director of Life After Hate. We are an organization comprised of former violent extremists ourselves, who are now deeply invested in immersing ourselves in the national community to combat violent extremism, with an emphasis and focus on helping exit men and women from the far right. And we believe that as formers, that it is our duty, our responsibility to partner with the national and international community in an effort to, one, deepen our reconciliation efforts within the communities that we have hurt or targeted in the past, but also to understand now that we have something to contribute back to this community in a meaningful way. And we believe that partnering with organizations like what we're doing today is critical to our mission. And our mission is to help uphold the missions of others who are on the same platform, and particularly in a time when it seems that leadership is abdicating its responsibility to support our voices, then it becomes our responsibility to support each other's voices. Daisy, thank you for having us here on behalf of our team. We're grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sammy, for being here with us. Next, I'd like to invite FBI Assistant Special Agent Robert Wells.
Morning, everyone. As I look out into the room here, honestly, for me, it's very humbling to be here and inspiring because, you know, as taxpayers, you all pay me to, you know, try to fight the terrorism battle. And again, it's great to be here. I know that, you know, the only way we can win and defeat terrorism is through events like this. And I thank you, Daisy, for organizing this and the efforts that you're all going through to try to combat extremism and terrorism. As everyone knows, you know, the threat, you know, continues to evolve you know, year after year after year. You know, and we're just trying to keep up, you know, with ISIS and the way things have changed. You know, we went from long-term investigations many years ago to, you know, now we have ISIS online targeting our youth. And it's so easy for somebody to just log onto a computer and speak to a terrorist now. So, things have changed so much over the years, and it's made our job more challenging. And I think the importance of working together as a community, an interfaith community, it's more important than ever. It's really the only way I think we can be successful in fighting terrorism together. As we all know too, every time I see, we're seeing terrorism attacks all throughout the world, and they're happening quicker and different methods, people running over, individual cars, shootings, bombings all over the world. Every time that happens, it has a significant impact on the Muslim community all throughout the world. And what that leads to is one of our other responsibilities, try to protect against hate crimes and civil rights violations. So I look forward to working with everybody here to try to continue to fight this battle. And just thanks again for having me here. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Robert, for being with us. We have two very special young people with us today who would like to give their thoughts on the Wise Up report. I'd like to welcome Rayanah Williams and Mikaael Martinez Jaka.
Good morning, everyone. Throughout my whole life, my mother has always tried to tell me what to do. Make sure you eat your fruits and vegetables. Clean your room, wash your face, brush your teeth, go to bed, do your homework. It's been nothing but do this and do that. And as we say in Arabic, awamir, awamir, awamir. Orders, orders, and more orders. My mom has told me like a million times that if I don't take care of my responsibilities and make good choices and do as I'm told, I may grow up to be a 70-year-old spoiled brat who throws tantrums if I don't get my way. Sound familiar? Of course, it's not enough for her to just dish out orders. She has to bring religion into it whenever she quotes verses from the Quran, where God says, and I quote, "But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and God knows while you know not." She also quotes other verses from the Quran that I can't remember right now about how I'm supposed to be kind, caring, and respectful, and that I have to live with integrity and have authenticity in my dealings with others. When I first heard those words, I had to look them up because I had no idea what she was talking about with all this integrity and authenticity stuff. Even though I don't like it sometimes, I know my mom is right and she has my best interest at heart. As a young Muslim girl, I believe that it is really important for us to have great role models in our lives. Before coming here, my mother showed me the stories and profiles of many Muslim heroes that appear in the Wise Up report. It made me feel proud to be a Muslim and to know there are so many Muslims in the world doing great things to help others. When I look around the world, I'm heartbroken to see poverty, violence, and suffering that exists in our world today. It bothers me to see bad people doing bad things to hurt other people. As I get older and wiser, I am more convinced that there is truth to all of my mother's nagging and orders. It made me think that those bad people didn't have a nagging mother to guide them to do the right thing. Or perhaps they were neglected as a child, so they grew up feeling unloved and therefore they don't know how to love others. My mom has been a really amazing role model for me, alhamdulillah, and because of her, I am proud to be Muslim. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace be with you. My name is Mikaael Martinez Jaka. I am a fourth-generation Mexican-American, part Native American, as well as part South Asian. With my diverse heritage, I am proud to be American and proud to be Muslim. But what does it mean to be a Muslim in America? Few people know this, although several scholars and leaders before me have mentioned it. 30% of enslaved Africans brought to America by Europeans were Muslims. Islam is not new to this country. Islam has been here from before America was even a country. Some people may say, go back to your country, but we are in our country. And we belong here and are proud to call America our home just as much as anyone else. As a Boy Scout, I practice the Scout oath and law in my daily life. The Scout oath includes duty to God and country, as well as being mentally awake and morally straight. The Scout Oath has 12 points that span from trustworthiness to being cheerful, reverent, helpful, so many strong values that America holds and Islam teaches as well. Scouting values and American values go hand in hand. And as a scout and as a Muslim, I see how these Islamic values are true to scouting values and American values. So really, being a Muslim and an American is almost one and the same. I'm not alone. There are thousands of Muslim scouts across America joining scouts of all faiths in their duty to God and country, giving service through scouting for food, collecting food for the needy and food pantries and the people that are hungry, participating in Messengers of Peace service projects across the country, helping communities, just maybe cleaning up a trail in a day. Islam and Muslims absolutely condemn and forbid terrorism and extremism. The Quran, Islam's holy book, tells God says, whoever kills a person, it is as though they have killed all of mankind. But whoever saves a person, it is as though they have saved all of mankind. Helping other people and being kind to other human beings is one of the biggest parts of Islam, and helping others is a main part of scouting. We learn leadership and how to give back to the community. I want to thank you all for being here again, and I want to thank everyone that organized this event. Thank you for having me speak. And I just wanted to say one more time, this is an amazing event. Thank you, and peace be with you.
We are so proud of our young people, Rayanah and Mikaael and Daisy. You have no idea the impact this work is going to have on the next generation of leaders, Muslim leaders. I'd like to ask the remaining speakers to keep their remarks very short because we are running out of time. I'd like to invite Mayor Mohamed, Khairullah, and Nadia Hashimi to say a few words.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Nadia Hashimi. My parents came to this country in the early part of the 1970s from Afghanistan. I was born in this country, raised in this country, and always lived in communities where I was the minority. But to tell you the truth, I never felt that way. We always felt very integrated, very much a part of this society. Today, I stand before you as a pediatrician, as a small business owner, as a mother of 4 children, and a novelist of best-selling books for adults and children. I've traveled around the world. And what I've seen is that there's a big shift. America today is not that same place that my parents raised me in. And that concerns me. It worries me about my children too and how they feel. We have a saying in our household. My husband has coined a term called theolerance. And that's what we try to teach our children. And the slagline is believe in peace. And that's what we hope that this conference will enable us all to do as well, is to believe in peace and to do so together. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with you. Thank you, Nadia, for the introduction. And Daisy, thank you for this wonderful gathering that I think is extremely, extremely important. Quick background about myself. I came to the United States in 1991 with my family as an immigrant. I'm originally from Syria. And it was my community involvement as a volunteer fireman that prompted people to ask me to run for office when I wasn't a citizen yet. But in 2001, 1 year after receiving my citizenship, I did run for office. And immediately after September 11, the people told me with my first name, Mohamed, and last name, Khairullah, I was doomed to failure in politics. But I think it was my actions in the past, my community involvement, that changed the narrative. The fact that Muslims should be involved in their communities, should volunteer at whatever capacity they can, should give a few hours of their week to volunteer in their community. That helps change the narrative. In 2001, I was elected to council. 2005, I became mayor. And I'm getting ready to run for my 4th term as mayor next year, inshallah. But In 2001, when I ran for office, there was one other Muslim elected official in my county. Right now, we have 16 different Muslim elected officials in my county alone in New Jersey. About 20% of the Democratic Party executive board that selects candidates, whether it's state or national office, are Muslims that sit on that board. So with intention, if we work intentionally, I think that we could change the narrative, and I think work such as WISE, now that we're doing it in an educated manner, I think helps as well. So thank you very much, Daisy. God bless.
Okay, we are over time. I'm going to invite Sister Ameena, Jandali, Imam, Taha, Ata Tawil, and Sheikh Shafayat Mohamed, just to say a very brief, maybe 20-second hello. So please.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and thank you so much for including us in this important press conference. We heard from the young people here today, and we're so impressed by them. And I just want to shine a light very briefly on an important issue, which is the bullying of our young people. Muslim students across this country are being bullied, have been bullied. I was bullied as a child. We know that the rates are double and sometimes 3 times of regular children, and we know that this comes not only from students, but can also be from teachers, from parents, from other staff members, and we know that including and creating a diverse and welcoming school is one of the best ways to really create a harmonious community, but also to prevent the alienation that can often result in some of the things